Okay. Moving on then. Any comments on B, C, D? Now E.
Whoa.
D, okay.
D1?
D doesn't have a one.
Bottom of page 3, D.
We're on
Says
page
minors
3.
exempt.
Oh, sorry, wrong page.
Okay.
That's where I spent my life.
You lapped us somewhere along the way.
He's ready, Dan. Watch out.
Let me see all of these.
Okay, E.
All right,
Yeah,
E.
something on E.
I have stuff on E.
Yeah, so this is saying that if you rent it out long term, you don't need a business license.
2 or less.
Two
Or
or less.
less,
Long-term rentals.
Right.
and this is for one who owns like one property. So
Yeah.
what about if you are a property manager, but the owner would need to get the business license, right?
Correct. Well, it's whoever's collecting the profits. Whose business is it? Doesn't the property owner pay you to manage them? And they get a portion of that rental fee? So it's
So
their
the owner
business. It's
gets
their business, isn't it?
business license, right?
You as a property manager would have to have a business license as well, because you're collecting money from other people's work.
Yeah, right, and I
Right.
have mine in Eureka Springs, so
Okay,
I'm good on that. So the owner gets the business license if they have 2 or more long term?
yes, that'd be long term.
3 or more.
Three or
No,
more.
excuse me.
3 or more.
3 or more?
Mhm.
If they're renting less than 3, well, it is 2. We say if they're renting less than 3,
Right.
So
and
one
2 is less
So
than 3.
3, they have 3 or more, and that's for long and short term, or just long?
No, just long term.
Yeah, I made a little wording change in there so that this made sense to me. Let's see if it does to everybody else. What I did is I changed, it says individual landlords, and I took out renting. I said with less than 3 long-term rental dwelling units are exempt.
Was it long term or short term?
This is just long-term. This
doesn't
has to
say
do with
that.
long.
Yeah, it does. It says, however, a landlord that operates short-term rentals, there's
2 or less?
another section about.
Does that make sense? What I
Having
mean?
that in the title does, yeah, of that paragraph, the first part of it.
Yeah, individual landlords with less than 3 long-term rental dwelling units are exempt.
They're putting
That doesn't say
putting
that.
long term, the words long term in that
It's not in
beginning
there.
sentence.
So, yeah, it's
Well, if we do that, then
yeah.
the rest of it about short term rentals doesn't belong in it.
Because with
There's
it,
short term rentals in that.
Yeah, the last sentence.
Oh, okay.
what she's trying to
So-
do is.
Okay.
Send the
Say the
husband
same
and
thing.
to the wife too.
I don't know. I don't know what the law, how they look at that. If they file their income tax returns joint, I would say no. I'm not a tax expert
Well,
though.
they would, but the husband could have 2 title in his name and a wife 2 in her name.
And you can still file jointly?
Sure.
That can be legal?
Sure.
Okay.
I
I'm
would
glad
say-
you're giving tax advice from the city. That really helps.
But all they need to do is obtain a business license, right? And what's the process? You just fill out the application and pay a check, right? It's the same kind of like in Eureka, what we do there. Okay,
But we are saying that long-term.
See, it's their job to figure out how you can get around it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, ma'am. No.
Long-term with 1 or 2
Right,
rentals do not have to,
right.
but anyone.
If
with-
I own 2 other
3 or
houses
more.
and I rented them out long-term, I would not need a business license unless I'm organized as an LLC or an LLP or something.
Oh, wait a minute, so that's saying if you have an LLC, and let's just say you have 1, you still need a business license?
Mhm.
If you have that title in your LLC?
Because
Yes.
you're a business.
You're a business.
You're the business entity.
Okay, so this is owners with the property in their name. Most investors will buy it in their property name, even if they just filed 1.
Yeah.
So if an LLC,
Yeah. But they very well could have it in an LLC, which
And
is
just
still a disregarded entity for tax purposes. Yeah.
yeah, that most people will buy it in an LLC just for tax purposes, not necessarily operating their LLC as a business, so would they still need to apply?
In our ordinance, it says they
Or-
need a business license. The taxes you're talking about are separate, not
Yeah.
anything to do with business license.
Right,
It's a separate issue.
cause that
So,
disregarded only applies to tax.
right, okay, no, for example, like I have a property, I purchased it in my LLC for tax purposes. I could have had it in my name, but it's, you know, in an LLC, so because it's only one, it would need to be in a business license, even if I were to do it long term. Right?
According to this wording, yeah.
I would, just because it's titled deeded in an LLC.
Right.
Okay,
Because the owner is a business, an LLC.
entity, okay, so. Gotcha.
Did you get my wording changes there?
I don't know that it's needed.
You don't think so?
It's the same.
Can I ask one thing that I was also asked the question on this, of E, is that it was confusing that it would say 3 or less, or 2 or less technically would have it. And it talked about long term, but in the same paragraph talked about short term at the same time and requiring them to do it. Seems like there would be 2 different paragraphs
Well, it's,
I agree with
debating the
Rod.
2 different types of rentals, if they're long term or short term.
So you just want to bifurcate it into.
Yeah, you.
The one way it says they don't have to have it, they have 2 or less.
Into the long term paragraph.
Or can we, would it suffice to separate it with a bullet 1 in the
Yeah.
same E?
Maybe A and B or something. Oh, yeah, 1 and 2.
oh, 1 and 2 within E. Okay,
You're really just saying the same thing. You just want-
Yeah.
For readability.
like the
I
landlord.
know the title of the thing says renting less than 3 dwelling units, and then you go down at the bottom and it says.
With a however,
Well, yeah, but you do that all the time. You write it and then you exempt part of it.
Yeah.
And that's not unusual.
So are you saying like the landlord that owns the buildings in the park, it's an LLC, he needs a license? They're long-term commercial lots,
This does say dwelling units,
okay.
but. Interesting point.
But you're talking about who? Like Peachtree with all the,
Shane?
Yeah, and Shane Perry and G&W that own the other.
These
side.
aren't dwelling units.
What are they doing with the lots? They're just empty, vacant, raw land?
I think they're Peachtree probably.
well, they're conducting
There's no
business
dwelling on it?
as a landlord. This paragraph doesn't apply to them because it's not residential.
Well, if they're a business, they would probably have their business.
Right, but not here, they don't yet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
All businesses, corporations, partnerships, nonprofits, it's in the general section 1. We
Right.
cover the land or the property owner of a set of buildings. They're non-residential.
Okay,
Yeah, so E is just, we're talking about individual landlords.
okay, so I'm gonna break that paragraph up into long-term rental and short-term rental.
I think that works.
Let's do a 1 and a 2.
Yeah,
Okay, something
yeah.
like that.
No,
Now, I have a comment about the second half then. I think we need to add before a renewal of a CUP may be granted. Because we charge them an upfront fee for the conditional use permit. And in our ordinance for that says there's no renewal cost for the short-term rental in the permitting process.
For the.
So to charge them
CUP.
initially for that CUP and for a business license adds on to the total that you're asking them to pay.
Mhm.
And that would be $200. And we're asking the grocery store and the hardware store and everybody else to pay $50.
Yeah,
We're,
In our ordinance, it says you can't get a renewal until you have a business license. So I think we need to add it. Obtain a business license for each individual short-term rental before a renewal of the CUP may be granted.
do they have to get a renewal every year on the CUP?
Yes. Every year.
on
Has
the
to be
top-
renewed.
What's the renewal process? I mean, once it's.
They file that, they fill out the application marked renewal, and it goes to the individual assigned to reviewing those and make sure there haven't been any major complaints in their file. Like too much noise, trash, parking problems, whatever it might be, over occupancy. If they have a clean slate, then it'll be automatically renewed.
Okay,
They get a new document with a new date.
okay. What's the business license fee for the short-term rentals?
Well, in here it's $50.
What is it for everybody else?
$50.
So it's $50 for a business license all across the board.
That's what's in here so
Right
far.
now.
That's what's in the draft. We
Okay,
haven't gotten to that yet, but that's what's in the draft.
okay,
So at this point, we're talking about renewals for short-term rentals. And I think it should be left at 0 for a renewal. Or excuse me, whatever fee we decide is okay, but not for the initial release, not for the initial CUP. We've already charged them for it.
with the $50 for the business license.
I don't want to add that on. I clipped this from the Sunday newspaper, October 15th, the city of Johnson, in their section called Single Tax on Business. No person shall be subject to a taxation under this article more than one time during any year for the conduct of the same trade, calling, vacation, business, profession, despite the conduct of such occupation in more than one location within the city. So in theirs that they just passed, you can't tax them twice for the business part or for something else. So we gave them a CUP for a fee.
Yeah.
Or a tax, if you will. So I'm advocating we don't charge them that for the initial one, but only before they get the renewal, like our ordinance says they have to have.
Okay.
Our ordinance we've already passed says they have to have a business license for a renewal. So I'm not opposed to that on an ongoing basis based on the business ordinance.
Well,
But initially, I don't think we should.
I'm not sure that our ordinance turned out then the way I thought we intended. I thought that we intended for the property owner to get the CUP, but whoever was booking the rentals and, collecting the short-term rental, fees and paying the taxes is the one that had to have the business license.
Well, our ordinance says the property owner is the one who asks for the conditional use permit.
Yeah, right. But
Doesn't
not a
matter who it
business
is.
license. Does it say in
talks
the
about
ordinance?
it says renewing, it expires in a year and you have to have a business license to have a renewal accepted.
Well,
And the
also,
CUP
we're
is
telling
assigned to
they have
the owner. That's what it
I
is.
don't think Airbnb is gonna come and.
Well, that was gonna be my
business
next
license.
question. They're
No, I
conducting
think
business here.
it's more of like a property manager. So for example, I manage several properties
Right.
in Eureka or Holiday Island.
Yeah.
So would I apply for all of my people, the business license and the
No, that
CUP?
wasn't the intent, the individual property owner isn't a business. Even though I got a conditional use permit to rent out half my house, every weekend. I am not a business
Are you talking about half a house?
Because
or
they-
a whole house that
because
goes-
Vacasa or VRBO or somebody else does all the booking and collects all the taxes and everything else.
In this sentence, however, a landlord, what's a landlord? Isn't that the owner?
Well, that's why I'm wondering if there's a problem with this paragraph and possibly even with our zoning ordinance.
Okay,
Can I ask a question on two parts of one? Lynn, I didn't quite get all what you were saying on the thing that you talked about. A business license plus something else for the same purpose, right behind it.
it's okay.
You were asking about the two parts, and I guess my question is, in like other places where I've had a business, I may have an alcohol permit from the state, and then an alcohol permit from the city, and yet still a business license on top of it, so I didn't understand the wording. When I would technically have different permits for different places, I could also have a county permit for also being into this county, Wallace City, but they're still the same, so that's why I didn't understand the wording.
My concern is to ask for a business license fee for a short-term rentals initial application. I don't think we should be charging that.
For
But-
business license fee for the conditional use permit.
Right.
Yeah, and I
This-
didn't think we were.
When I read this, it tells me a landlord that operates a short-term rental shall not be exempt and must apply for a business license.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing that
Okay,
is probably
It's
is
not
not
the intent.
what we intended.
okay.
So that was my second question that I was trying to get to, Mayor, if you're talking about a short-term rental not having a business license in the future, if we talked about an A&P tax or anything else, the A&P tax would tax the business license for that short-term rental. So if you don't give them a business license, you would never be able to A&P tax the short-term rental. The tax goes to the business license and not a cup or a permit or anything else. It goes to the actual business license, which would be taxed at that point.
Okay, so what Lynn was saying is applicable.
In Eureka Springs, does each property get, is each individual property owner required to have a business license? Or only the person that's operating the rental?
Okay, so in each building, there has to be an occupancy permit. Now, all of my owners have not obtained a business permit. I have obtained a business permit and operate business on their behalf.
I think it was the person that has a business, not each house has a business license. Not each house has a business license. Because if we had 4 houses, you would collect the A&P tax or tax, sales tax, or whatever else for all 4 of them and combine them together to be the actual.
Right, like I collect the tax right now and I remit the tax to the state and the CUPC.
Yeah, that's.
It wouldn't be each house, it would just be the business itself.
Right.
Which would make the cup different as being each location would need a cup. The business running it would need the business license.
The property
Yeah, that's what I thought we intended to do right from the start. That's not necessarily what this says, but I thought that that's what we intended to do.
That makes sense.
So each property owner would have to apply for the CUP, and then whoever is running the business for them, they would have to have a business license. Is that the way that it is?
That's the way I thought we wanted it to be.
So each
That if I have a house here in Holiday Island that I have in the short-term rental program, I have to get a CUP. But if she's booking all of the all the rentals, and she has a business doing that, then she has to have the business license.
So the property, Mr. Taxman, the property owner's not in business to rent their building. They just hire somebody else to do some of the work.
Well, that was the comment I was gonna make. Rentals are business.
Exactly.
That's business.
But we're paying the sales tax, they're paying their tax on their income. They pay, so I 1099 my owners at the beginning of the year for the past what they've been paid out, but I've already paid the sales tax.
Right.
All of the taxes that go to Arkansas, to the city and all
they
that.
pay income tax on the difference from what they charge for the rent, and they pay you and the taxes collected. The difference is theirs to keep, and they put that on their 1040 as a regular income.
Yeah.
Or business income, however they set it up.
Right. Well, it would be go on a rental schedule. I mean, if they're not materially participating in their definitions of that, then it goes on a rental, but it's still considered business. Like when you take deductions, that's a business expense.
No, I pulled up our 1023-16 ordinance.
Let before your arm wears out.
I have a question just out of curiosity, maybe might help this. Does every Airbnb owner has to have a conditional use permit?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe
the property owner does, yes.
So maybe you can attach business license to that conditional use, and instead of charging them twice, charge the same one fee and applies for both, and you have both.
We do, but in our ordinance, it says short-term rental, owner occupied. There's a section for that. It says the payment of an initial conditional use application of $50 and a renewal application fee of $0, subject to the property owner possessing a current business license.
Oh.
And the language is the same up here for not owner occupied. So we put in our ordinance that they have to have a business license to get a renewal. I'm advocating from the text that we're looking at today in business license, not to charge them for their initial for the business piece. Because I read it, it says you're gonna have short-term rental, you gotta have a business license, period. It doesn't exempt you for, and during the first one. So my addition says, before a renewal of the CUP may be granted. To me, that solves the problem. Then it's aligned with our ordinance.
And then every short-term and long-term landlord would have to have a business license.
No, got one more bit to share.
Except for the.
I just came from Utah, and over there, if you have an Airbnb, you have to pull a license to the city. As the owner,
Yeah,
you have to.
And
regardless of who does the booking.
Right.
And that's what we have said in this draft. If you're a business, you're generating income, you have to get a license.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. I don't recall that that's what we had intended when we talked about this before, that we weren't going to kind of double whammy the short-term rental people by charging them for a CUP and a business license.
But like what he's saying is, if you could just put their application.
Not in
like,
the first year, but.
maybe just like have the business and like have the business application and then the CUP, just like an extended application, but still be the $50 fee. They just have done a little bit extra paperwork.
And they'll have to pay the business license every year, but the CUP doesn't require any
Right.
payment. Correct.
Okay.
There is no renewal charge from either
That makes
entity.
it all fair.
Once you have,
Attached to the business license, it's just an extended paperwork per se. So we go back to this, each owner costs for the CUP and their business license. Right? Exactly.
I'm so confused. I have.
Well, that would solve it if that said in this regulation, they don't pay anything for the business license. Right now, it says they pay. So we have more amendments to make, even if they get a business license concurrent with getting their CUP.
Yeah.
I have no problem with doing it that way. It's
So
just
they
need to
would
fix it.
pay $50 to get a business license and a CUP.
No,
each year.
our ordinance says that if you don't live in it and rent it, your CUP, your first one costs you $150. If you don't live in it, it costs you $50. So the current draft in our business license says $50. So if you don't live in the property, it's going to cost you $200. If you live in the property, it's going to cost you $100 your first year.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
that
opposed to
every
that.
year? Yeah,
No.
why would you charge the short
Not
term
every year.
people?
Not every year.
Not every year.
It's for the initial.
But I'm curious why they would charge the people who aren't living there $100 more. Like, what fault do they have to be charged $100 more?
I believe our intent in our discussions were about the fact that the property owner lives in the building. They are in more control. There's going to be less impact on the city. All of those things of having the person living there and the stranger renting from the basement is different than the strangers renting the whole house. And I live in Kansas.
Right.
But that doesn't.
Different amount of exposure to the city.
But what exposure to the city? What exposure does the city have?
You have a property owner there on site all the time.
We
So,
have-
less
They-
likely to have parking.
I mean, they could go out of town, you know what I mean? Like, it's not. I just wonder what would the extra $100, I mean, that just seems like. Why, you know, it's kind of like attacking the short-term property owners who are also the ones bringing in the revenue to the grocery stores, to the shops here, because those are the people that are here spending the money, so why penalize?
It's only for the
The
short
short
time.
term.
It's only
It's just
the
for the
initial
initial
thing, because it takes so much effort in order to inspect the property, look at it, you know, make sure they're set up properly with parking and everything. And the signage that we have to post to get everything, the newspaper publications that we have to do to have a hearing and all that, that all costs the city quite a bit of money to get it going.
So they're
This is
having
the one
to
time-
do hearings on places that are already
To get it-
established.
Get a CUP, yeah.
For places that are already established, they're
Additional
having
use-
to go through
Additional
this.
use permits go through public hearing process. So the neighbors know what's happening in their neighborhood. It gives them an opportunity to bring up issues. So we can deal with that in creating conditions, granting them the permission to have a conditional use permit for short-term rental.
There's a place on Peggy Street that's kind of a problematic vacation rental place, with parking and other noise and stuff. And so the neighbors, maybe not all of them know that it is a rental, you know, although the people change every weekend, as I gather. So
that's
but you know, that needs to go through a hearing process so the neighbors can have a say-so about that property.
And they might not get approved,
Correct.
even if they've been operating their place as a business.
It's a possibility.
If they can't assure the city that they will obey the nuisance ordinances, that they will do what it takes to make sure that the place is quiet, if that's the issue, or the trash doesn't end up in the front yard, if that's the issue. If the cars aren't parked in the street, that's the issue.
Okay.
That's why we have a public hearing.
About these public hearings, are these all gonna happen at once? There's so many nightly rentals, like how is this gonna?
Approved 18 last night. We have 3 more on the calendar for December 12th. That's all the applications we have so far.
Okay.
We would guess what, there's about 100 or.
I'm guessing 150, just a guess, from what I saw on VRBO and Airbnb.
So the homeowners apply for the CUP
Yes.
and the business license.
Currently not.
So just the CUP.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have this ordinance in place yet. Right.
Can the council hear me?
I have a little bit of. Correct me if I'm wrong, the CUP.
No. No, you can't do shit.
They're two totally different ordinances.
So I guess what I was asking, when you were talking about at the cup, they would just automatically get the business license enough, is that, I understand that right?
No, they have to apply for it.
Right.
And they have to pay for it. And there's no renewal fee on the cup.
Right. So once they pay the 150, that would also include their business license?
We don't have it that way in our ordinance.
Okay.
We can change that, but we don't have it that way in the ordinance. We gotta put that in the business license ordinance.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I was going to make some sort of note as to the fact that there would be no business license fee in the first year.
In the initial, called the initial.
Yeah.
The initial application,
Yeah.
In the initial.
not first year, the initial application.
If they have a CUP.
Is that just for the owner, not the management company though?
Right.
We're talking about the owners apply for
The
CUPs.
owner, okay.
And I'm a little confused on that too, so with your example, you know, you're the owner, you get the CUP. She manages it for you, so she needs a business license
Yes.
as well.
That's correct.
So would I need 2 business license? I would need one for my business and one for my property.
Well, if you operate in Eureka, you wouldn't need a business license here.
Okay,
Cause you already done.
right, that's right, okay,
I
but I
think
would need one
that's a
for
good
my,
question.
If you were here and located in Holiday Island.
of course, but for my property though, I would certainly need a business license and a CUP.
Yes.
Because it's one is a physical address of Holiday Island. Which would require you like a bank. Like CS Bank, they have multiple locations, but they have to have a business license in every city they go to because they have a physical location.
Well, that's a good point that he just brought up, so, because you were just
Well,
saying,
that
I have a business license in Eureka already.
Yep.
I have a property here, would I need to apply for a business license for my property here if I already have one in Eureka? For my
Didn't you
business.
say that's
I would think not.
No.
I would think not, if it's a business license for your business of managing rentals. Is that what your license is in Eureka is for?
Would
Okay.
that cover my property here
I
that
would
I?
think so, for the business license part, I would think so.
So all I would need is a CUP, I think that needs to be specified, cause I have owners who have, I have owners who actually have this as well, they have business license in Eureka and property in Holiday Island.
Yeah.
So in which case they would just need a CUP.
Probably, yeah.
And that is covered on the first page of the business license that we just went.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got to think about that because again, Bryce used an example of Cornerstone,
Yeah, A bank.
CS Bank. They have a physical presence in Holiday Island, so we're going to require them to get a business license, even if they have a business license somewhere else.
Oh,
No, I
so,
thought you exempted that in
yeah, so
paragraph 4.
is that,
Okay,
the state, you said it was.
That's quite fair.
For a business license if they had their,
No,
are you saying their only presence was in another city?
if they were, my question to that earlier was the operating out of another location, not having a permanent address here or a building here.
Yeah.
But the other part is if you do have a brick and more physical address here, then you would have one in each place. You have a physical location, no different than if I had multiple physical locations in a place, I would have one for each one of them.
Right, got it.
yeah,
But it was the part that was saying you would have to have a physical one where they had a license, which would exclude the Berryville people or out of state people that come that don't have one.
Okay.
my note is building here, license, no building here, no license.
Okay, my question that I have had, how about if a citizen of Holiday Island owns 3 farms in Iowa or 3 short-term rentals in Eagle Rock?
We don't care.
Are they gonna have to have a business license?
Not here.
No.
Even though
They're
they're
not doing
operating,
business here.
they're operating them out of here.
Where is the business address?
Well, if they're living here, the business address is probably gonna be their residence.
Yeah.
But the rental locations is in Iowa
Yeah.
or Missouri or Illinois.
Yeah.
In Iowa, does he have to have a business license here?
Yes,
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
That's gonna have to be business here.
If you have a, if I
I
have,
don't have 3
There
hours.
is no impact to the city.
if I have Dan Keys Farms LLC and I operate them out of 120 Holiday Island Drive. And the farms are in Missouri, Iowa, and Wisconsin. I need a business license to operate that business in
No.
Holiday Island.
Yes, that's the way it
What's-
reads right
because-
now.
Yeah, because
That shouldn't.
Is that what we want?
Well, that's why
Because
I'm
they
holding
don't
my
do
breath
physical-
until we get to paragraph F.
they do have
to do with
a
home
physical address here, where they're operating their business out of.
And neither do a lot of other
Their
occupations.
business
so
address
that's
is
the
one
point.
20 Holiday
I'm
Island.
so confused on this.
Well, then all home businesses are going to be exempt.
No, because they're doing business also in the city.
We're not. That's F, are we
I
there
think we
now?
ought to concentrate on home businesses that are actually conducting business in Holiday Island.
Yeah, but that's the original way we had it, that was my, and I sent a complaint to Dan that I liked it the way we originally had it. This implies that I can have, like I did have, a consulting system or business in Florida.
Right.
I'm only licensed in Florida.
Yeah.
But
I
you
have
live
no
here for
in-
the beauty.
I live right down the street. I have
Yeah.
no impact on Holiday Island whatsoever. My neighbors don't know what I'm
Right.
doing, and you want me to get a
And we don't
business
care.
license.
You're-
That's the way it reads.
You're sitting at your computer every day and that's it.
And that's, and I mean, let's face it, that's a trend. Everybody in the company I used to work for now work from home.
And consulting.
And there are several different states, and they're licensed in Oklahoma, and they're licensed in Florida.
If your business's physical address is in Florida and you're just working remotely here, then your business is not.
But
But
what
not
if
here.
a consultant, an independent consultant?
yeah. I don't even think it's
If
clear.
I'm an independent consultant and I have customers all over the United States and I'm bringing in $500,000 a year, you think I should not have a business license?
No.
But
No.
Billy Bob across the street that, you know, that cleans up yards and,
It's impacting the lives of people here.
Yeah, but yeah, Billy Bob has an effect on the community.
Right,
I don't, because I only work in Florida. I
correct.
only consult in Florida. And it's,
We can't, as a city, we can't worry about people.
and it's a vote.
Working out of their homes, no, there's something around that, I think that if you have a business, a home business and you work from home, certain people are exempt. And it's a state thing, like if you have like a coaching business, you know, you counsel people, coach, whatever. You don't have to have a business license to do that. People work with you on an individual basis, or if you've got some certification, but.
Yeah.
It is complicated.
well, in the, I don't know if it was in the, council meeting or in the other workshop, but this very issue was a big sore spot with several people.
Yeah.
Because of the seeming unfairness of it.
Yes.
That I'm running a consulting business out of my house and I'm knocking down, you know, $200,000 a year, but I don't need a business license. But somebody across the street that's maybe making $15,000 a year doing something, yep, they need a business license.
And you're absolutely right, that's what we discussed. But my point is, it's not our business how much money you make, or it's how you make
Because
it,
the
and what's the impact on Holiday Island.
The clients in business is actually elsewhere, like the people who are paying are actually in a different place than.
They're not in Holiday.
They're not doing commerce here.
Are your customers here or not?
That's
That's what we had originally.
all we need to do is put something in there, a home business that in some way or another impacts Holiday Island or its citizens.
Like West has a home business with tax preparation, but he has customers here.
I have
He has
customers
customers
here, yeah.
Well, okay, but if customers here, he needs
a license.
Needs a license. If his customers are all in Iowa,
Who cares?
that's none of our business.
If I have a construction company, but I never take a job in Holiday Island, I don't need a business license in Holiday Island.
I thought we were on something else.
We were, but we got diverted.
Well, there's an exact example of what the mayor tried to illustrate. An individual lives in Holiday Island. He works on his computer at his business that he owns that does it out of the storefront, if you will, in Florida. Does he need a business license?
No.
Our current draft says he does.
I know. That's my point.
It's
Our
a-
original draft said he didn't.
All right, what needs to change
Goes
so
not-
we get
not
this
the-
clarification?
The very first, I don't even have
I can't
it
even
anymore.
remember that, Brandon. So.
Yeah, the very first exempted home businesses, I can't remember.
So
the
we're not
words.
two home businesses yet, so
Well-
occupations, we need to get
Well, and
Let's
I'm thinking,
clarification in here.
as an example, our son in Des Moines works from home. Works for a guy, I don't even know where his employer is, but he is providing controller services for hospitals in Chicago.
His employer is the prime person there, not your son.
Yeah, he's getting money because he's employed.
Okay.
He isn't doing business on his own.
There are many people out here who are employees who work for companies remotely from home, but they don't have a business here.
Right,
No,
The illustration that I have.
but the way that reads,
where is it?
home occupations, that's not a hobby.
We haven't gotten there yet, we need to,
Okay, yeah, I agree.
we
Let's,
need to do that wording
let's-
better so
let's-
we get that
let's
clarification.
get down, when we get to F, we
Yeah.
can hear about it.
I think we're still on E.
Yeah,
I thought we were done with E, but.
I think.
Well, the only thing I need to change on E, other than splitting it up into two bullets,
Yeah,
is to add us a comment in here about,
No license.
No license fee
on the
for
initial-
the initial with the initial CUP application.
right, yeah. Okay, then we could get to. F.
But if there's no fee, do they get a license then?
I would assume their first year would come with the CUP. And
We
after
can
that,
consider, we
when they
can consider
renew, they
them
would
licensed.
have to have a
with the
business
CUP.
license. They would have to
They have to have.
renew their business license.
Yeah, they
Okay.
have to have the
So-
code first, so,
I'll pursue that aspect of it when and if we put this into place.
okay,
Until now, it's gonna keep on going without it.
okay.
All right.
So in which case, right now, as it stands, the property owners need to apply for a CUP, not necessarily a business license just yet.
We'll have to
Pass this on.
figure out the logistics of how we provide somebody with a business license
Application.
when we. Yeah,
So would you like for us homeowners to go ahead and start applying for these CUPs?
Oh, definitely.
well, definitely, the
Yeah.
CUPs are a done deal, they're,
Yeah.
They
that's
require-
what passed.
Okay,
The penalties start July 1st.
okay,
The last meeting that we can have an improvement is the second Tuesday of June. You have to make application for that in the second Tuesday of May.
okay.
Let me ask that, somebody asked that question too, on that point. At that point, there was also talk about something getting mailed out to every homeowner to notify
We're
the
still
park.
working on it.
If they haven't done that, will that date still stand?
Yeah.
Because some
Unless we
people.
change the ordinance.
yeah, I mean, they still have 5 months to,
Okay,
6 months.
Yeah, I see that.
Now,
So,
The
okay,
deadline for getting them filed is the second Tuesday in June right now to avoid penalties.
Right.
so ideally, if this works the way that you guys are saying that it's gonna work. So that we would go ahead and apply for our CUP, pay the 150, and then once you guys get the whole business license figured out, then there would be no fee.
Right. The initial CUP.
Amended says there won't be a fee for the initial CUP for the business license.
There won't be an initial fee for the business license, but $150 for the CUP.
Yeah.
I would think they would get a license though, because
Yeah,
you
they'll,
wanna make sure that they're paying their taxes.
that'll
Okay,
hit,
we haven't done that yet.
no,
We just have.
Once we
asked for
pass
evidence
this,
to prove
we'll-
the taxes are being paid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if we go ahead, what I'm asking is if we go ahead and apply for the CUP and at some point in the future, when we apply for the business license, there won't be a fee.
The way we're modifying it, that's correct.
Okay. And
Say
what
that
would we
again.
do? We would just say, hey, we've already got a CUP, we paid 150. Can we just use our waiver or whatever
Yeah.
to do that?
And the problem with all that is the timing of it, you know.
It is the time, that's
if I
what
apply
I'm
for
bringing
my-
it up.
If I apply for my CUP and get it in October. And my business license apply for it in March. According to this text, it expires in December. No matter what, so if it's October 23, you get it, it expires 3 months later. In this current text. In this
You would-
text, it expires every year and is renewed every year in January, in this text. Regardless of when you got it initially for a CUP.
Wait, I'm so confused.
We're not there yet, but don't have to be confused yet.
So what expires in December?
The business license.
So the business license, I would recommend to wait till January to apply for.
I would wait to do so, like.
It doesn't cost anything, it's just a matter of going through the process a couple times if they're close
Yeah.
together, that's all. That's the note I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
And is there a reoccurring fee on the business license?
Yes,
Annually, right now it's $50, but we haven't gotten to that point
But
yet.
there is no reoccurring fee on the CUP.
So it would just be a $50 business license that they would pay.
okay, are we on F yet?
Let's, I just assume we skip that.
for the audience and everybody else, the orange boxes with the red squiggly around are my comments, so.
Oh,
Okay, now I'm gonna challenge whether or not the way it's worded right here requires Pat to have a business license to do it, to run his business in Florida, because this says home occupations permitted by the city zoning regulations.
So what's permitted? What
I don't know what's permitted, it's not.
Occupation at home,
We have,
Consultant?
shall I drag that up for you?
but not here.
But not here. Although my computer sits here.
So I had a question on that one, Pat, to try to figure that one out was
Where'd it go?
He's doing something.
if I was a consultant and say my customer I was consulting for was a restaurant in Holiday Island. I would need a license, but if I consulted a restaurant in Jonesboro, Arkansas, I wouldn't have to have a license.
That would be my opinion.
But in both cases, my tax is still going to be the same.
But your
same
tax is
filing.
not paid the city.
Yeah, I don't care.
City of Holiday Island doesn't have a tax.
No, I get it, but my state, I'm still filing from this location. So you
But,
wouldn't know the
but,
difference
but,
between
but
those.
we're in the city of Holiday Island, and my opinion is that our duty is to protect the citizens of Holiday Island.
Correct.
And the city of Holiday Island, and what impact it has on it. You have no impact on the city of Holiday Island or any of its residents.
Right.
So why is that my business?
Right.
I don't care if you make $2 million a year.
No, I get it. I was just trying to clarify.
No,
what it was.
that's my opinion. I don't know that that's everybody.
No, I feel the same.
I don't know, what are we?
Maybe you could say home occupation with customers in Holiday Island.
Well, or we'd have to go back up to 1A and add something to that.
Yeah.
As exempted in F, but that's a small thing. But I don't know how to word it. I would just put an exemption at the end of it.
Yes.
I have one example of a perfect example of a business that needs a license in Holiday Island. It's a paint business 2 doors down from my residence.
That's not what we're talking about.
It's a business, he has no license and he has 4 paint trucks in his driveway on the grass.
Well, he clearly needs a business.
Yes.
And under the ordinances written
Yeah,
like
but
that.
he hasn't not done this because it's not in effect yet.
It's not in effect.
No, this is effective.
Well, that also has some zoning issues, so.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's,
and Ken, this text we're looking at includes if you're violating, no, it doesn't, excuse me, we don't have it in there, I was gonna talk. If you're violating, city ordinances and zoning, you don't get one. We
it
don't have
says
that.
home occupation permitted by the zoning regulations. If you got all those trucks parked out, it's not permitted by the zoning.
Well, Aaron said it's not a problem, so he's.
Well.
All right.
You know, I'm an old man, I get confused easy, Ken.
Our current planning and zoning includes the word occupations only in 2 places. They're in the same section, C. Home occupations, I have it on screen, prohibited. Prohibited home occupations include but not limited to, there's a short list: barber, beauty, dispatch centers, commercial stables, assembly of large appliances, repair of vehicles. Everything else apparently is approved because these are not approved.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it says, but not limited to.
Right, it means everything else is okay.
Except I thought we had something in the parking ordinance that prohibits.
It doesn't have the word home occupation in it.
No, I know it doesn't. We weren't thinking about that at the time.
I could find the. You know, like residential accessory uses.
I think it's so that we stop people from cutting hair in their home.
Oh.
That's another.
There's 5 locations. I gotta find it somewhere else then. Home occupation permitted, here we go.
Okay.
Here's a list that we have, I didn't see this in 1403. Permitted home office businesses, clearly a secondary use. The work done in the home office creates no objectionable odor. Business does not involve the external display of goods. Business does not cause interference in communication signals. Shall not include the employment of any persons residing on the premises. Shall not include the employment.
What it does is drop my value of my home by $50,000.
So they can employ their
Persons
kids.
not residing
Right.
on the premises. So if
Shall
they
not
employ
include those.
people that don't reside there,
Then it's not a
you
home
can't
business.
operate it as a home business.
Right,
For- they do.
yeah, they're violating several other
Yeah,
problems.
so I think we got that covered. I think it's the other issue.
Thank you.
So what are we gonna do with that?
Okay, back to F.
Back to it. Or do we need to change it in A, general?
Well, we will, let's change it in F first, and then
Okay,
I think in A, all we have to do is add except for as covered below in F, or something to that effect.
Well, we do, it does say that, the headline is,
oh.
the headline of it
Except it's
is.
noted in F, yeah,
Yeah, you're F, so if we change F, it automatically
Right here.
right.
changes 3.
Right, in 3,
So all we have
they're
to,
exempt.
so all we have to do is change F.
Okay, so,
To read what?
yeah,
I don't know.
Go back to F.
I'm just causing a problem. I don't have a solution.
Well, the last bullet, I think we need to change that so it's a question, not a how. But cut the word how out, so it begins with, is the income reported to the IRS, and then add after the word IRS as regular income. Somewhere, and we need, and add a text with a sentence, if the answer to yes to any of these questions, then the business license is required. Because you're saying it's
These bullets are only to differentiate business from hobby.
right,
yeah.
but it's saying a hobby is differentiated from a business based on the following, but you don't say based on, okay.
Yeah, is it one of them or is it all of them?
Yeah, so if the answer is yes to any of these questions, then the business license is required. That
Yeah,
sentence, I think, needs to be added
It does need to be.
to strengthen the questions. Why are you asking the question? If I say no, then what? If I say yes, then what?
Yeah,
If there's, I understand you're differentiating, but you don't give, when it differentiates yes or no, what do you do? What's the outcome? So we need to add a sentence. If the answer is yes to any of these questions, then a business license is required. If we change the bottom one to a question that starts with the word is and ends it with.
I would agree.
That doesn't sound like the problem we're talking about.
No, I'm talking about how we make this part work with the part that's already there.
yeah.
I guess I don't see how that works. We're still gonna
Well,
restrict.
we were still trying to figure out.
Well, we can add another bullet to it for the condition we were talking about. Everything I do is related to my business in some other state, some other location. Add another bullet.
True.
Well, the only thing that we need wording on, you know, we're all agreeing that some home businesses need a business license. We're all agreeing that some don't. So how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the wording that needs to be.
All you have to do is say, except for any home business that 100% derives its income outside of Holiday Island. That's all we need, isn't it?
Yeah, but the point of F is to differentiate between
Well, no,
hobbies and
but,
a business.
and I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
But-
have we successfully done that with these bullet points? With the way Lynn read them, no, we haven't.
Well, can't we tackle one problem at a time? First, what are we gonna do about the home business that we're not going to require to get a license? And then you can differentiate between a home business and a hobby.
Okay.
There's not much that needs to be changed to differentiate the hobby from a
An
business,
actual
but it's the other part that I'm concerned about. What do we do about the business that we don't want to require a license of?
Mhm.
Do we add it in F, or do we just go all the way up to A1 and like we said, other than 501(c)(3)s, and then home businesses or occupation other than those that derive their income entirely from outside of Holiday Island, and then the rest of it probably would work. Or
What is the tax law? If my business is located in Florida and I do all the via my computer in Arkansas, how do I report that income? Out of state income, right?
Yeah.
In the state of Florida, is Arkansas
Well,
getting taxes for that?
Florida doesn't have a state income.
Oh, okay, let's say Nebraska, I know they do.
Yeah, right, so then you would have to file a Nebraska
Right,
return
to pay them their tax.
as a non-resident, and then you report the income here is also as income, but get an
Well, I don't
out-of-state
do that.
tax credit.
Right, okay, so they're still conducting business in Arkansas, even though all of it occurs in Nebraska.
Because, well, you have to report all income in Arkansas if you live here, no matter where it comes
Okay.
from.
Right.
Right,
So if it was Florida and a non-tax, would that be income
That
that
just
gets
means
taxed?
in Arkansas?
Yeah.
Yes.
same thing with South Dakota.
I'm quite sure when I moved here from Tulsa, and I still had income, I had to file in both states.
Right,
And then subtract one from the other.
right,
So,
But even though I didn't do a single thing in Arkansas,
Mhm.
other than that's
Right.
where they sent my
Right.
money.
Yeah. I did the same when I worked remotely. My business was in Chicago. And I paid both Arkansas and Illinois tax. on that
I still don't think we need to make that big a change. I think we can go up to, what is it, A1 and just say, like we exempted 501(c)(3)s, we could exempt a home business that derives all its income outside of Holiday Island, and then the rest probably works, doesn't it? You're looking at me like it doesn't.
I understand what you're saying, and I get it, but let me give you the bad variable for this, right? I'm just gonna give it to you because I know.
Go home.
If I had an online store, which I've had before, I've had multiple, so I had an online store, and maybe all my sales came from other places in Arkansas, other places, I wouldn't need one. And then one day somebody from Holiday Island buys something in my online store, and all of a sudden I have a customer in Holiday Island. I need a business license now?
Yeah.
Probably.
Or did I need a business license because I was an LLC still operating here?
Yeah.
You had a physical.
I think you needed one, but let's face it, all laws are in this city and are pretty much voluntarily found. We don't, even the IRS doesn't.
But I'm gonna be the person that has the FedEx truck come to my place and drop off a bunch of things every day, or UPS every day, and all the traffic consisted from the online store selling stuff out of my home.
Yeah.
That's a different, that's a business.
Plus, none of my clients are in Holiday Island.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So we
Right,
gotta figure
that's what I was
that out,
asking.
because that still impacts Holiday Island.
Correct. That was my question, is that's still gonna impact the roads and
Yeah.
everything else with trucks going back and forth, but yet I have no customers in Holiday
So
Island.
we gotta
that I serve.
differentiate that kind of thing that has UPS traffic.
You could have.
Or could.
Let me suggest that if we make the exception you're talking about, we might as well just scratch that whole paragraph. Cause it's totally unenforceable,
Yeah.
totally unenforceable.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have
So
a
if it's
problem
not-
with that.
If it's not enforceable, then why even have it in there?
Well, I think it would be, lots of this may be unenforceable, except for
That's true.
most people comply with the law.
Yeah.
And they know what it is. Otherwise, they don't comply until they get caught. We don't, we're not gonna go, so on home businesses that doesn't have he's talking about traffic all the time. Who's gonna even know? So I don't know.
I like the original one.
The city of Johnson.
I do too, but I can't find it because I'm looking for the original.
If you didn't have foot traffic and.
No foot traffic, no income. You're exempt.
I have version 3, if you want that one.
I don't know if it was in version.
Well, I was just gonna say.
Version 3, I'm tired.
Yeah.
As far as what we're looking at right here, I agree that word how should be taken out. The question is not, how is it reported? The question is it reported?
But the IRS requests a Schedule C for a lot of things that I don't think we
There's
should.
two different lines on the income tax form. One is for I don't know, miscellaneous income that you would report hobby income, and the other is for business income.
Schedule C.
Schedule C. There's a lot of things that require.
But income,
we aren't gonna consider.
any income is income.
Yeah.
Unless it has some provision exempting it.
True. It's income, you gotta report it, but they make you do Schedule Cs on a lot of things where we aren't gonna want.
What if we,
How they cut
sorry,
lawn. Yeah.
what if we not scratch F, but change F to home occupation and define home occupation as a business run out of your home that has no income from Holiday Island, no traffic from Holiday Island, no impact on it. It's something like that, and then that's it.
But if it does, then it requires.
Or call it home occupations that require a business license from Holiday Island.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but.
that's, or just,
Define those.
so we're just defining a home occupation as this,
No,
even
we
though
got
we
a
know
bunch
that.
of questions here that I can't understand.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're setting ourselves up for splitting hairs on a regular basis with people that come in and say, I'm not a business because, because of this.
Well, I do think we have a situation where we do have some home occupations, like Ken was talking about, that do require a business license. And we have some people with home occupations that don't or shouldn't require a business license.
How do
and
we
we have to
define
differentiate.
We have to define that as best we
Well,
can.
then all we have to do is define what home occupations that we want to get a business license and
That's
leave it
exactly
at that.
right.
Only home occupations
So
that have
let's change
foot
F to
traffic.
be that.
What foot traffic or derived income from Holiday Island. That's all we need to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the derived income,
No.
whether that's the way to put it. I know what you're getting at though.
What if the UPS truck comes to my house every day and delivers 4 boxes of computers and ships 4 boxes of computers, and that's my business, reselling computers. There's wear and tear on my roads.
Well, that has an impact.
But anybody in Holiday Island.
So that's the other half.
What's the impact? And we have to define that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
The impact is you have foot traffic, or I don't know if I want to call it foot traffic, or regular deliveries, or
You're
an
shipping
inventory of
out
some kind. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm thinking about the presentation that I saw from North Little Rock.
Okay.
There, if with a home business, you could not have inventory, which you would have,
Right.
or employees.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's some tenants.
Or people, you can't have people coming and going, you couldn't have customers coming in.
Well, we got 2 ways to do it, in my opinion. We can either define what kind of home occupation requires a business license, or we can define what kind does not. Or, which would be, or.
We can forget about it.
I don't want to forget about it. I think there are types of home
Well, I think
occupations.
the ones that we're talking about that, would not be allowed because of the zoning regulations.
There's the point.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Ken's example is already in violation
yeah.
of one or more ordinances. We just
Well,
haven't gotten around to taking care of it
Well,
yet.
can we just, what Dan originally suggested, can we just scratch it all together?
Scratch out.
That's what Town did because it was unenforceable.
Yeah.
They said they couldn't enforce it anyway, so they're
They're
taking it
probably
out.
right.
I mean,
Just take it out.
unless your neighbor turns you in.
Just take it out. We also have to take it out of wherever else it.
And the only reason I put it in there was because
I
at
know.
one of the earlier meetings, it was a big deal with a few people.
I know, but
And,
Some of us take a while for things to sink in and
takes-
rethink things.
If
it doesn't take anything to convince me to take it out.
Yeah,
Well-
so, but the only thing we have to change then is eliminate out
And
take-
Go up to
out
1A.
A1, scratch home occupations. Just scratch it.
Yeah, just scratch it wherever it appears.
I just think we're trying to do something that's just.
And then you gotta go to 3 and scratch 4F below. Scratch those 3 places, I'd be happy with it. If it becomes a problem in the future,
Then we
we'll
can do
deal with
something
it,
about it.
we'll deal with it in the future.
So what are we?
Everybody okay with that? We're just,
Here's
we're scratching F
We're scratching.
in its entirety.
its entirety.
Okay,
Then we go back to A1 and take out the word home occupation.
A1,
So you're saying we don't care about home occupation?
General businesses, A1.
And then.
On page 3.
And then you go to 3 and scratch off F.
Correct.
So and you're saying
Go
we'll only handle home occupations through zoning, is that the intent?
Dan, the second line right there says home.
Where are you? I'm sorry.
He's over there.
Okay,
He's
no,
going to
what
explain
did
for
you,
me.
what's wrong in the document?
he's telling me where it's at in the documents, it's right there.
Okay.
Please don't dangle your
Move
participles.
that thing.
I'll do a word search for home occupation to make sure that
But I'll let it
it's
go.
not hidden in there someplace else.
And remember, you have your note of 3 to remove that.
Yeah,
Okay, it's not regulated anyway.
Still needs to be some-
all right.
We need to deal with what we can deal with.
One of the zoning.
If it gets to be an issue, we can.
That's right.
Deal with
Can we go home now?
it. All right.
I'm sorry, sorry I brought this up.
Well, you got your way. You should be happy.
I really didn't think I would,
Section,
because
this,
What
you
we
have
need
all
to-
this,
what
you
we
have
need-
all this pent up anger and you're not gonna let it go. huh?
well, I'm not gonna stand up and point my finger at you and say, don't gavel me.
We as a city council need to commit to the work in the workshop and we get done with it, not sign off of it, because we can't take the process too far, but make certain that when it comes up to the ordinance that we're rated both up or down
Right,
and not spend time revising it
correct.
when we're looking at the ordinance.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I think we're there, that if,
What we're doing here today.
okay, so that's why we're putting work into
All
it.
right, section 102.
okay,
It's all good.
it's all good from there on.
Wait a minute, you got home business down there again.
Where?
Home,
D.
right under D.
D1.
Actually, can we go back to A? 102A? You have
102.
exhibit A right there, but we erased exhibit A from somewhere else. We need to remove it from there also.
Oh, exhibit.
Where, what? 102A? Yeah, third line.
Refers to exhibit A.
Not 102A.
No, what Dan said,
Oh.
his exhibit A
Yeah.
is this form. That's what he said exhibit A is,
Oh, yeah, okay.
Exhibit A is
Gotcha.
the application.
but,
Okay.
you know,
That's appropriate there.
right here. Oh, there's exhibit A, which is the form,
Yeah.
and the text that we're looking at, it's right here, Linda.
Correct,
Oh, under 102.
yes.
Mhm. And it refers to the application.
Right.
All right, I'm up to D,
Yeah,
fees, requirements and fees. Scratch paragraph 1 because that's all relative to
So
home businesses.
now, go back just a minute, I'm sorry about this, I'm hung up on this a little bit, but. The guy who owns a painting business that he's running trucks out of his
This front yard.
front yard. We weren't gonna require him to have a license, business license.
We are, but our ordinance here should say something about, he can't get one if he's violating planning and zoning and whatever.
right.
But we're gonna require him to get.
We
one.
we
It's
don't
not-
do
It's
that.
not a whole.
Well, we just scratched that, then,
No,
no?
That is, he is in violation
It's
of
a violation
zoning.
of zoning.
he's of our parking ordinance and other
That's
things.
not-
Well, to me, home occupation and home-based business is two different things.
Right,
So this home-based business applies to the painting.
Yeah.
Well, then we've got a little bit more work to do on this.
Of course.
Why?
In the Johnson ordinance, it's called zoning in their section, no license shall be issued for the conduct of any business if the premises and building to be used for purpose do not fully comply with the ordinances and regulations of the city.
True.
No license shall be issued for the conduct of any business or performance of any act which would involve a violation of the zoning ordinance of the city or any individual entity or corporation that is in arrears on the cities for any fines and fees or amounts owed pursuant to the city's taxes. So they have a section in there, you're not gonna get a license if you're in violation of the city code.
And he's in violation because,
He's got vehicles parked in the front yard.
got it.
That's the problem, man.
But he
But,
could-
but Linda's
he could-
question is, where do we require for him to have a business license?
Because he's
Right.
conducting business in Holiday Island
And
at a
then-
physical address.
A1,
Excuse me?
A1.
I think so.
So because he's
Okay.
He's not doing his home-based business.
probably a sole proprietorship,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Or an LLC.
yeah,
Because he has employees.
yeah,
Well, he's operating within
yeah.
Highland city limits, even if he's not
So
doing
he would-
a job
he
here,
would
he's
fall
driving through here
under-
and parking here, so I
So that-
I still think
that-
he's required to.
So whether or not
He's-
he's
he's
operating
required to have
out of residence, he still falls into category.
Okay, what about the CPA that has customers in Holiday Island? Do they need a business license?
He's got traffic,
No, I don't.
He doesn't have foot
They
traffic.
never come to your door?
okay.
He goes to.
I have one, maybe two that come to the
Okay.
door and I can
That's
No,
your-
no
I
exception.
advertise, I'll go there.
Wait a minute, let's
No,
go back.
No hair splitting here.
Let's go back to,
Yeah.
Online, internet.
let's go back to where we were at.
No, dangle your.
I'll get there, Ken. Hang on.
Damn. Home-based businesses, and this is a different category
That's
than
different than a home occupation.
home occupation.
Yeah.
Okay, so home-based business is different from a.
Conducting an occupation within the residence
No, I don't think so.
No,
must be in compliance with city zoning and.
what's the difference if I'm driving nails or if I'm adding up numbers?
Yeah.
It's,
So that one needs to go out too. Oh,
No, nothing goes out.
huh?
Give me a home occupation and he's doing, that's the house he's doing their stuff.
Regulations.
A home-based business is an actual business. They have employees, even if it's only just themselves conducting the business. So if you wanna change back to A1, instead of saying home occupation, home-based business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It says in that already. In the title, home-based
Uh,
business.
No, I
This-
mean in A1, where
this
we
is-
threw out home occupations.
That was a whole different-
Business.
Home-based
Hey,
business,
fair.
home-based business, so that leaves this as a valid section in 102. Home-based business instead of home occupation.
Where their home is the location.
How about the barber cutting hair with the garage door open and 4 cars with customers?
We don't allow barbering.
No, more than 2 chairs.
Ernie died, so. That's why I have to go down to Bear now.
May I ask a question?
Surely.
Uh-oh.
Just to clarify, I have business that I do everything online. The whole United States, it's a global business. Would I need a license? I don't bring anybody into my home. It's just that I do everything online through Zoom.
as with the modifications we just made, no, you would not.
That's kind of what we're talking
But
about.
we're back to talking about it again.
Fine.
But we're, you know,
Yeah.
we're buffering. We're in a loop here. Because nobody can differentiate between Nemo's painting and your business.
So mine is working
Nemo's
from
is not,
home.
Nemo's is not
Yeah.
in compliance with zoning, so that's.
That's a different,
That's a
that precludes him from getting a
That
license.
can solve the problem with.
If he resolves that.
But he also has a physical address which operates within Holiday Island city limits.
Correct. And
Even if he's not painting in Holiday Island, he's got business trucks driving in his driveway, so he is operating in the city limits.
And he can resolve the zoning issue by getting the trucks out of his driveway.
Well, that's
Get
Really,
them out of his yard.
two different issues, but yeah.
But I mean,
So,
that is. It's a different thing, and I think we just do away with that other one too.
what, home-based business?
Right, we'll move on, but when I get this final draft here,
Yeah,
we're gonna test it
Yeah.
against some known situations.
Yeah.
Good.
And see if they're covered, if they need a license or don't. And if they, yes or no, is that what we intended?
okay.
I mean, I don't see it.
Because I do think that.
I'm still confused in it too, because you're talking about throwing some out, but then there was home-based businesses like the paint people, but if they moved their truck, they would no longer need a license because they weren't.
And
No, they can get a license.
They were home-based businesses then. They would.
Yeah, the zoning prevents him from getting a license because he's parking trucks in his yard.
But if he got rid of the trucks, he'd be a home-based business, which wouldn't need a license by the part of
No,
paying it out.
he
He would.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know. If he parked his trucks in Eureka Springs,
He can't do it the way he's doing it. It's not a legal business.
she's talking about a hypothetical.
Oh,
What if he had the truck someplace else and all he did was drive there and get a truck, then he's not operating in
He's just gotta
Holiday
get
Island.
it out of his yard according to the zoning.
We're-
That's all.
I think we're
That's
See
fine.
that,
Pave another lane in his yard, he could park.
well, conducting business in that zone is illegal. So our zoning says, no, it's not commercial, it's C1, it's R1.
I got you.
So I mean.
And then the
this-
parking on top of it.
I think it's all right.
And it's a difference with.
I think it's fine. I don't think it's.
Yeah, that's not all crazy. Okay.
I had a note for D1.
Okay,
Please.
There, in the last sentence, the license within 2 months of the passage, they're getting the, what's the word?
Grace period.
Getting grace, but up in C above, you get 4 months. So those don't work.
What page are you on?
On bottom of page 4,
Bottom of page.
C and D. The grace period for enforcement is 4 months,
right.
but in D, it's 2 months.
But it's 2 months of opening the business, whereas the grace period in C is just after the ordinance is passed.
Wow.
No.
A different situation.
No, it says in C, business is subject to a license in the city that were in operation at the time with a 4-month grace period.
Yeah.
Okay, so in D1, I have a business already operating, but I only get 2 months grace period.
Make it 4.
3.
Make it 4.
No, it says,
Leave that 4.
yeah, you're right.
Leave that
It's gotta be
4.
the same.
You're right.
That's
Just
fine.
make it 4.
That's fine.
Actually, I mean, why are those all the same paragraph? You know?
Well,
Because one is talking about requirements of fees, the other one's talking about.
A, B, and C is about the issuance of the business license.
This is exactly why we usually do these.
And
things in the morning.
103 is titled.
My brain works better then,
It's still the same section.
especially when I didn't get my turkey dinner.
Yes.
I don't know where mine is. They were supposed to bring it down here and I was gonna eat it in front of you guys.
No, you weren't.
Right, so we're on D2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Hand up.
Hand
Any other
up?
question?
What? Oh, hand up over there, that you can't see.
I can't see anything like.
Oh, here.
The one, I guess before I get to the bottom of D2, I have one that's connected to B, section 102B. And this one talks about business license, not talking about the amount right now. Payable by January 1 of each year, but in 102B, it says that they'd have to come back and get a license renewed between September and October 31st but a license isn't due until it's expired and before you need another one. So I see no reason to come up here between September 1 and October 31st. Even if I got the license then, I could not post in my business. It would not be activated until January 1 when it was due. So if I wanted to come here December 31st and buy a license, I still couldn't put it on my wall until January 1.
Right.
So it's not due until January 1, but the B section of that says I need to come up here between September 1 and October 31st of each year. But then again, there's no penalty if I waited till December 31st.
There are penalties. We haven't got to that.
But that penalty is only if I go past January 1.
Correct.
So why would I have to come in here between September 1 and October 31st to get licensed?
That comes from the comments you made in one of our workshops that said everybody applies for a license in advance. They can't put it up on the wall until January 1. I think that was your comment.
It was,
So
but it's under a different term of you can't put the license on the wall.
Right.
So it wasn't any part of like there's a part that you have to be set inside of. Like
We thought that's what you told us.
No,
It was your liquor license, as I recall.
Correct.
There's a limited time you apply for it.
there is a time of where they'll put out the paperwork for you to renew.
Okay.
That comes out normally a couple months before the liquor license.
Okay.
You'll fill that out. You have up until that time that one permit you have expires to fill that out before there were fees in place, because you can't hang the new permit until that day of the one expiring and the one going in place.
So you have until the day before to submit your application?
Correct.
Well,
it wasn't actually that we had to do it months ahead of doing it.
That gives us no admin time to actually give it to you. If you do it the day before it's supposed to be put out, we're not gonna have somebody sitting in here typing out applications.
That's the problem I'm having with the people.
I'm not sure that I agree with you. If I come in and I renew my permit for 2024 on December 1st, that permit is gonna say expires December 31st, 2024. Why can't I put that up on the wall? That's a valid permit. It doesn't say that it's not valid until January 1st.
It would be for the year of January 1 to the end of the year. So yes, it would not be valid until January 1 to the end of the year.
So you just don't put it up on
You
the
just
wall?
wouldn't put it up, but it also gives you no part, if you have a date in there for that part to go and get the business license, there's no penalty for me waiting until December 31st, because the penalty doesn't happen until January 1st.
He's got a point.
Well.
And most licenses, I can go renew it anytime I want to. I couldn't renew it before I got the paperwork for it. But once I have the paperwork, I can wait until, because my permit is still valid until the day it's expired.
True.
And the new one does not take effect until it is
Right.
on that date
But if it
to the
takes,
expired date.
what I would see, it's gonna take some time to process.
Correct.
And if you wait till December 31 and it takes 10 days to process it, you're gonna have to close down for 10 days.
I would agree, but on the flip side of that, I've never had a business license take any more than immediate. So in most cities, when we fill it out, one, we will either get it emailed immediately that day, or they print it in the office. When you hand them the money, they print it in the office and hand it to
You
you.
expect us to have a clerk here on New Year's Eve?
I'm just giving an example of what it is. But correct, yes,
No.
because the person's not late, they still have technically a business license that is active until
Yeah.
midnight of the 31st of December. And they technically don't need a new permit until January 1, the next day that they open. So technically they wouldn't have to have one, they're still a legitimate working business.
Just say you have to get them done before the 1st of December.
I was also thinking we might need to check to see if they had any violations of any ordinances, you know, on their record or something.
Before you
would issue a license.
issue a new one.
A renewal.
I don't.
You have processing time, so whatever period you want that to be, maybe not October 31st, so maybe the end of November.
I guess, I mean, the violation part you were talking about, the violations would happen to make the suspension of the business license, not a renewal part. A renewal part is an automatic. If you got so many violations, they would suspend it because of the violations, not suspend it once you come back to get a business license. That's when that violation would happen, that suspension of the permit.
So you're just saying it should just be automatic. You fill out the application.
Right, there's nothing there, and nothing's been done in that period of time, and I've already had one, I've already applied the parts that I'm in Arkansas.
You have it automated.
I have everything, I'm only going there to print to get my new permit because nothing that stopped me from conducting business up to that point. There's nothing that should stop me at that point.
Well,
I think that was the implied part that we had in the last conversation, was that it's not, in the business license, it's not validating my business again. That's already been done. I'm automatically getting the business license. It's a violation that would happen, that action would suspend your license, not the renewal part. The license part would be automatic. There's nothing stopping you from
So
getting the
once you
license.
have a suspension, you have to clear that suspension.
Correct. It doesn't have anything about new renewals. The renewal itself is just the renewal of the same business license you've already been granted by knowing you're working in the state of Arkansas and doing.
Well,
implemented this software we're talking about, the application would spit out the permit.
yeah, but there's no way that we're going to allow everybody to wait until
The last day.
11:59 of December.
Process.
I'd say change the date to the 1st of December. You have to have it done before the 1st of December. Or by the 1st of December, and then go on with it.
I mean, yeah, maybe October 31st is too early, but
Yeah, it's too
but
early.
we're certainly not going to.
I mean, it would just be on the business part of the business. If y'all were only open until noon, then on that last day, they would only have till noon. If they got here afterwards, and yeah, they can't renew it at that point. That's that part out.
I can't believe that other city. I mean, I got this right out of somebody else's ordinance. This renewal period.
Yeah.
You know, that they didn't allow people to wait until the last minute to, you know, to have the city drop everything they're doing and issue you your permit, if you waited till the last minute.
Do you remember the place that came from?
Probably got it from either Tawny Town or Green Forest, one or the other.
But if they have an entirely managed process, I definitely see that being
What difference does it
And
make?
as of right now, that's all we have is in managed properties.
We don't have.
So, we don't have.
Maybe you could say $50 if you renew it by the 31st of October. And if it's after the 31st of October to the 15th of December, you can charge them $5 extra.
There was a city that had incentives to do it early and everything, but it got to be a clerical nightmare. You know, it just, you know, we're gonna pick a date. Is December, if December 31st is a good date, you have to have your application in by December 31st.
Yeah, let's pick a date to have the application in by.
December 1st.
No, December 31st.
I mean, December 1st.
December 1st sounds
And
good.
that's
You
okay.
can do maybe the months of November, October and November, so from October.
You can do it before that.
You can do it anytime.
Anytime you want to.
It was the deadline.
So change October 31st to November,
To December 1st.
December 1st, probably.
That's fine.
That should get it done.
Yeah.
Okay, while you've done that, then how does that reconcile with the penalty?
Well, then we
I
don't.
Just want to check that, the penalty at the top of page 5 says if paid by December 31st, then there's a penalty. So what happens between December 1st and 31st?
It's paid by November 1st.
May I?
Sure.
I think just the time you're applying for a new license or renewal, you need to pay the fee then. There's no grace period, you're paid there.
Right.
You're done.
Right.
Well,
But
the penalty only is, if you don't pay it by December 31st, we're asking them to come in before then. But if they come in at the last minute and do it on December 30th or whenever we're in the office, we're good.
We're not good.
Otherwise,
It says shall be completed, and completed means pay the fees.
Yes, so
Well,
on
wait, where are you? Shall
I'm
be
back to the
completed?
number, the B, 102B that you just changed. to
Okay,
December
okay,
1.
okay.
yeah, it needs to be paid at the time you make that.
Right, you won't be granted until the fee is paid.
Yep.
So what you put in B with a deadline of December 1 does not reconcile with the penalty period.
Wait, and I'm not seeing in B what you're saying. Hold on.
It says the license holder shall be completed between September 1st and December 1 each year.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you changed it to.
Yeah.
So if you go to the penalty, and it says you're gonna pay a penalty if you don't pay it by December 31st.
And that's fine, so don't.
No, it's not fine.
No,
Right.
They have to
you
be
need
the
to
same.
change, so you need to pay at the time of application.
You know what, in order to them to pay before the December first, you
Right.
wouldn't get a penalty until December 31st when you needed the permit anyway, so technically I won't get your December
Yeah,
15th.
there's no
There's no
penalty
penalty,
unless
right?
they don't pay it by December 31st.
Okay, they haven't renewed it, it's December 15th.
Yeah.
Is there a penalty?
No,
Are you gonna accept their application?
yeah,
Why? It says you
You're
can't
letting
get it
everybody
before
do
this,
it by that time then.
Right.
You have no,
Yeah.
you have no
You have-
enforcement.
the enforcement of renewal
You have
is
to-
right here with your change of each year when it says shall be completed.
It should be the application and the fee has
Sure.
to be paid by December 1st. There you go.
There you go.
I say the application, whatever needs to be paid at the time you're applying for it.
Right.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Right,
okay.
There is no.
That's what we're
Well,
saying.
then
And the deadline is
just
December 1st.
And
Then after December first.
We don't have any water.
No,
I guess we don't have any water.
it's okay. So it just means
no, the water fountains,
on
but
number 2,
Dan
then
has a
the
refrigerator.
late payment fee is.
there's a refrigerator in the back room.
No, I'm just, did Dan put that in there, but so I wouldn't.
We changed the wording in number 2, if paid by December 1st. Otherwise, in addition.
yes, then it'll work.
Okay, is that good?
Good.
Okay, good.
In C2, December 1st.
Yeah,
Instead of January 1st.
No, it says December 31st.
it said December 31st. We're gonna say
C2.
December 1st,
Hey, I
Brings this to December 1st.
right?
I
No,
still believe that it should be paid at
What,
the
what
time.
about this
of
January?
Absolutely, we agree.
We're writing that into it, yes.
Oh, yeah, we need to change the line above that. It's payable by a certain day of each year. That needs to be,
Payable by
that-
December 1st.
yes, has to be December 1st in that sentence
That's
too.
what we changed it to.
But
Right.
instead of saying this December 1st, I think you should say it should be paid at the time of application, and that's your window.
But our, yeah, but
Right.
But
our time for application ends at December 1st.
Well, so I can come
You
and
can come
apply
anytime.
in.
You can come in July if you want.
What he's
As long as it's-
what he's saying
Keep
is.
track of all that is hard for whoever's doing the clerical. You come, I wanna apply for my renewal of my
Pay
license.
the fee at that time.
Well, but you're saying I don't have to. I can come in July, apply for this
No,
and come
September.
back
Anyway,
And pay it.
on
No, I
November
agree. No,
29th.
I agree. You have to.
So
pay
that's why
the
I'm saying,
fee at the time of application.
so that's why I'm saying, you gotta take that date and say that it needs to be paid at the time of application.
Yeah, the way I'm rewording it here is that
I understand.
the application will have to be completed and the fee paid by December 1st.
Correct.
And then going to section 2, it'll simply say that the $50 is due by December 1st. Otherwise, the additional payment of $15 shall be assessed.
and I'm advocating, put more incentive with it by adding for each month the renewal is late.
Oh, and you're taking.
What?
Yeah.
For each month it's
Every
late,
month, that'll be
$15 more
15 more.
Wait, what?
on the screen. I'm advocating add that to the end of the sentence.
Yeah. I wanted that too.
So,
Okay.
And Barb, I'm really sorry. I get so excited about it.
No problem, I'm with you. So I understand what you're saying. So with that wording, then don't do it by
December.
in December.
There's we changed it to December 1st.
Yeah, so if they
Okay.
don't do it by the end of December, that's one late fee. If they don't do it until the end of January, etc.
Two late fees.
Technically, they can't be more than a month late because their license will be expired
Yeah,
and we'll be shutting them down because their license is expired.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so my question about that
so there won't
is,
be an otherwise.
Then they just have to reapply.
There's no penalty applied. They're just gonna lose it. I mean, technically, then there's no penalty coming to it at all.
so my question is,
Other than they can do business.
Right.
are you gonna close the business in the January 2nd? Are you gonna have like a list and just go, but knock on doors and you can't do business, close it?
There you go.
I think you're talking enforcement. We don't.
They'll get a warning.
I don't think we should warn them.
We'll have,
Seriously, I don't. You're in business, but conduct business, you gotta keep track of your business.
So I guess let me ask a question. I agree with you saying, because I've seen it in other things where, tax you pay late, I pay a 2% part on your AT1s that are there if you're late on the 20th of the month. On permits and stuff, I've seen it where it's a dollar amount or a percentage amount and continues to increase every 15 or 30 days. I've seen them both ways. But then we continue, and I don't think the enforcement part for them to go close down. If you need 30 days to write the paper permit that should just come out of a printer, you need 30 days before the first came up. I would think it take even longer to shut the business down if you got a January 2nd and you were gonna go shut them down. So they may show up at the end of January or February. I wish they would have a larger fee for the time that they passed.
Yeah.
If the city is required to warn them and we don't warn them in a way to prove that we warned them, they can say, you never warned me.
Yeah. Well, then if we have escalating fees, the longer they wait, there's more incentive to get it in, and we don't have to close them down.
Yeah, so the escalation rather than 50 is 500.
I like it.
I mean, the sign at the garbage truck says it's $10,000. It stopped the problem. It stopped the problem. Now nobody's throwing their trash on the ground anymore.
And everybody gets that law passed, the people are gonna say, shut down the city.
That's good.
Okay, so are we okay with per month? That the renewal is late?
Yeah.
$15 per month?
Yeah.
That the renewal is late?
Not necessarily.
Oh,
I thought we were gonna escalate the amount.
no,
That's.
Let's don't get
Active code enforcement on it then.
there you go.
That part of it won't be as difficult probably as what we think, because we're gonna have a log of all the businesses.
We can play it.
All we gotta do on January 2nd is see who didn't pay, and then go and start knocking on doors, see if they're still in business.
I mean, that's the main thing, is just make sure that you still have the business.
We get the software set up, we'd have the list.
All right. Anything about 3?
No, I'm on 3.
Okay.
Mine was a 2-part on 2, actually. Sadly, I hate to say. Mine was the first part about the date because it connected to the one above, and so that's verified. That's fine. The second amount was the amount of the business, which I know there's conversation going about if everybody is the exact same or there's different business for different reasons. I can keep on going, but I think that was pretty self-explanatory.
I think I heard that song.
Yeah. I just don't think we're, I don't think we're set up to have a scale or
a
schedule for different businesses right now.
This is the first time around. Let's see what they, we're trying to find out what we're licensed.
Well, just so you know, the Johnson ordinance, they have general $50, then they have food and lodging, and they define in the restaurants, cafes, whatever, it's a minimum of 50, and then it goes up by the number of seats. And then they have the next one is motels, hotels, boarding houses, and it's based on the number of units, number of places they can rent. And their last one is self-storage units, the number of units they have. So it's so much, it's a flat rate plus so many per unit. So that's how that's the only ones they define in Johnson.
I just think we ought to distinguish between businesses that are large, like Sunfest, with a lot of employees, and small, the accountant office that's one, 2 employees.
Right.
The shop that's 1, 2 employees.
You got 2 big businesses.
Distinguish between those sides. Their footprint, their customer traffic is different. You distinguish on square footage, you could distinguish on those things that you were talking about there. But there are ways to distinguish that are fairly simple to prove.
They're objective.
Objective,
I think my question had more to do with the future than necessarily right now, is that at some point later on, if there was something else passed, example, AMP or a city tax or whatever else, not all businesses pay the same tax. And you would have to define them at that point to know who you give a permit to. So defining those businesses now is much easier than coming back later on trying to define them and teach them that they need to apply for a different business license in a different category of which they've never applied before.
Okay. That means we put this off for another month?
No. I'm
And
tired of
somebody
messing with
volunteer
this.
to come up with a scale.
No, I don't want to.
I don't wanna deal with that at this point.
We don't have enough businesses, and there's 2 or 3 big businesses and the rest of them fall in, and what are you gonna accomplish by charging one business more than the other? Not a damn thing.
Just, it's fair.
The perceived inequality is all.
Fairness, perceived
Well,
fairness.
Hey, fairness.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
and
we're not, this isn't a tax.
You're misstating what the purpose of it.
The purpose is to find out what our businesses are and
And
regulate them,
recoup
not
the cost of doing the licensing.
okay.
If you start prorating and based on the size and stuff, you're taxing.
Can I comment one more time before we go over?
No.
If
I'm sorry, I don't have the authority to say that.
If that is the case, that there's only a handful of businesses here, in the last budget line, it's written in for $6,000 for the business license budget that's going to be coming up in the future. With only a few businesses, that would never be reached. But yet the IT and the financial part of that licensing software and all would be much more than what you're collecting for the business license to begin with.
Correct.
So yes, there is some part of difference to it. There's also difference of who all has traffic coming into a location, driving in every day. I'll even give my place as an example for that. I'm paying the same as the Airbnb that paid $150 for a cup and $50 every single year for a business license. But for me to be a business, have traffic every day, I pay $50. That's it.
Right.
It's proportionally disproportionate.
Yeah, but I think it's
The
fine for now.
Supermarket, they both have a lot of customers, a lot of foot traffic.
So,
Well, that's a way to distinguish them and make it fair.
And they also have their own parking lots that they have to pay and all their other stuff. I just don't wanna deal with it at this point in time. We're trying to get something.
They're only gonna be charged $50 where the dog groomer is gonna be charged $50.
This isn't a tax. If you wanna pass some kind of tax, we'll
The
pass the
fee
tax.
is there for
The fee is there.
practicing and paying for all of that.
Right, it's
We
not
gotta
a
pay for
tax.
software, we gotta pay for a person.
The food fest pays sales tax and we get a portion of that back.
It would be nice if we could get enough money out of this to fund our service.
Yes.
Our work that we're having to put in on it.
This is one of the ways we can get the income to get the people we need to.
we started this a long time ago, and I'm not gonna go that way.
I think there are 4 of us that want it and 2 of us that
Then
don't.
you vote, let's bring it to a vote.
Then you write it up and we'll vote against it and you get your 4 votes, but Jerry's not here.
True, I'll cast his vote.
Well, we're not voting on anything tonight.
No, I know.
We can't vote in the workshop.
But we've had this discussion 3 or 4 times.
I know.
And we decided that we were going to go with a simple process to recoup the cost of implementation.
I'm not sure it will.
It
But it
won't.
gets damn close, okay?
We don't know how, I
Well,
don't know how much this might.
let's get something done and then we'll see.
It'll be.
Well,
for
to
more
get
than
into
license.
this,
So you're gonna put us in a situation where we have to amend this.
No, I didn't say, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think for what, if we're talking.
see
The alternative is to have
Getting
3
it
more
more
workshops and vote on this in
complicated,
February.
We also
We
gonna
need
have
more-
3 businesses that we don't.
I'll make a last comment on this thing, because I think there's still that part in it, but if there are those future things that come up, it would then have to be changed again without that defining part.
Thank you.
If you never put any definition of what businesses were in that part of the license, you've got that tax thing later on. They're all treated the same, yet depending on how much traffic they have, it's just disproportionate. In all cases, it's disproportionate. And I mean, that's my big issue with it, right? Is that there should be something, and I did look at the budget. It did appoint for the 6,000. If there's not that many businesses, the IT part was expensive in the financial part. And at some point, the businesses that do pay into this part should expect that something is going to happen to the citizens, not just all the money go to IT, right? If the city advertised the city of Holiday Island or other parts, we talked about different things. They would separate back the money that they spend in the city. The city is a holder of money that people pay into, that they will get some type of service or something else out of. And if they're only paying the IT part, they like that, they're getting nothing from it.
Yeah.
Customer orders on.
Well, that was one of my things too, Bryce, is that we do need to know
4,900.
what the businesses expect of us. If we
But I don't think that comes later in that parts for the part, but yes, if there's nothing there and it's not collecting up, there is nothing to spend money on, right? There's nothing to
What we're talking
do with that in that
like
other stuff.
4 or 5 page.
If we all do these things, all just pay an IT part, that doesn't, there's nothing there, but I don't think that all businesses are the exact equal, there.
All of that.
So there's plenty of examples where people work out of a trailer in a parking lot out here, paying the exact same as a brick and mortar sitting on the street that has 150 vehicles a day. And he may have 5 customers.
Yeah.
A bank, normally the highest regulated business inside of the city, and in most places has the biggest business license there is. They exist.
Yeah.
There's no difference for the other ones either that are restaurants, grocery stores. They're all different sizes and different means to it. I don't know. I'll leave it with that.
Well, I haven't heard anybody volunteer to come up with a scale, and I'm not gonna do it.
Yep, I'll come up with a scale.
There's merit to it, but I'm just not gonna, I just don't think we need to deal with it at this point in time. We need to get something. We'll have 3 more workshops.
Did I hear you say there was merit to it?
Yes, there is merit to it. I'm not saying it's without merit. I just don't want to deal with it at this point in time. And that's not what we've discussed in the prior workshops as to why we're doing this.
Well, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't discuss it before.
Yes, well, some of us did. Some of us said we don't, it's not a tax. It's just trying to get a handle on what we've got here. And I think this does it. You know.
But then we're likely to have to change it down the road.
Well, that's true of a lot of.
The only thing that I know of that a fee cannot be based on as far as scaling is sales revenue. You can base it on inventory value, you can base it on number of employees, you can base it on square footage.
I like the square footage idea myself.
But
it's easier to
or you can just arbitrarily do it and make buckets. Like Eureka Springs has got probably 100 different. They've identified everything from bicycle washer to grocery stores, and they even have horse-drawn carriages in there.
I hate the way they do it.
And the way they have it set up, unless they call Dollar General a grocery store instead of a convenience store, Dollar General is paying like $50 and Hart's is paying 250.
Yeah.
So if you don't keep up with it and keep your scale current with what's actually going on in town, it starts to not make sense anyway.
It's very easy.
We got something simple.
Lynn's listing seemed very simple, but very good. The listing he read.
No, anything you come up with, there's no.
Oh, somebody you're gonna be mad about it.
That's the schedule layout, that little section.
Oh, I see.
And I am not.
I'm cool with what we've got, so that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, even Johnson is the kind of enterprise going on. They're not taxing. You know, they're not breaking it up into the groups like the grocery store
they don't
and
cover
gas stations.
supermarkets because I don't think they have a supermarket. They don't have they may have a bank.
But they have gas stations. I would think there's a lot of revenue comes through those.
They're not distinguished here.
Right, so that's part of their general.
Okay, where are we?
And they're growing fast, so they're gonna have all that stuff before too long.
I was on page 7, but I don't think anybody else is.
No.
We just finished the 2 by adding for each month renewal.
Right. All right, 3.
Hand up.
Hand up.
I just think you gotta say something there on how this thing's gonna be prorated.
Well,
prorated.
No, you divide the months.
Yeah, if it's 6 months divided by 12 is 50%. That's how you prorate.
Okay, just.
Yeah, it's prorated.
It would be nice if we can down. People know what the thing is.
All right, anything on D?
No.
Only one point on it, and that was what I talked earlier about license renewal. Is that the license renewal is not about going back and checking for the violation. It's the violation to take care of the suspending of the license, not D of issuing a business license based on what they have in the past. Those violations would have already had action and suspended that business, not something at a time of renewal that would keep you from getting the renewal of the license.
Well, it could be that the violation just happened and it hasn't gone through the court and whatever due process, but they have a violation, so they're not eligible to get a new permit.
But
until it's satisfied.
They have the opening to have the due process before they're actually committed, let's say, guilty to the issue of the violation, so they would still get a business license until that violation said that they couldn't.
And then they get suspended.
Correct.
Well, 3 covers that. An applicant can appeal to the mayor's decision to the city council for the same manner prescribed for an appeal to the mayor's decision to suspend or revoke.
But you're saying that the only thing that should prevent the renewal would be an active suspension?
If you already had suspension in place, yeah, like those, because you could get, are you gonna wait till renewal comes before they have 20 violations before you suspend them? Because that's the only time you would suspend them is in this.
No, probably
or
not.
would you suspend them before that? And so they would not be able to renew.
Right.
But if there are no, the violations of what would suspend them, not them walking up to get a piece of paper, which may mitigate the time of how long it takes to make a business license, is that's not already done. The business license to verify that they were a legally registered place in Arkansas with Secretary of State and all, not all they've done, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Would we need to recheck their registration with the Secretary of State for a renewal? Because a lot of them.
I did in mine that I've done in the past. I only heard one time
A
and
lot of different places, depending on the type of business. Like I have to register as a tax preparer, so the IRS would show if I'm properly registered. I go to the Board of Accountancy. The Board of Accountancy would show if I have my CPA certificate renewed.
But are we gonna check it? That's my question.
Well, when people are applying for a CUP, I go out and vet those applications to make sure it's the right UBL, that they're the same property owner, that whatever, I do vetting. And it's part of the process of getting ready for the public hearing.
But that's for the initial issuance, on a renewal.
Right, renewal, the process has to be the same. We have to vet it out, make sure that everything's still kosher, that they're still the owner.
So that sounds like we're gonna have a process for renewal that's gonna take some legwork,
some clicks on the computer at a minimum.
work time.
You know, there's a state sales tax number.
You have to revet these licenses.
Is that what happens for CUPs in Eureka?
Not CUPs, business license.
Okay, well, he was talking about CUPs.
Right, I'm just saying in that process, I'm doing vetting.
For the renewals too?
Right, well, it should be, yeah. That's what we'll coach to whoever's doing
Well,
it.
let's keep in mind, that's gonna cost us money too.
Exactly.
To do those fittings every year.
Can I inject that? Most of them, whenever I do a business license somewhere else, it was filling out my form for my renewal. They've already got my information. And every one of them is printed it out right then in my hand at the office, or they were done online and instantly emailed over to me. It's not necessarily a vetting process. The vetting process had already taken place the first time that they were a legit business with the Secretary of State in the first year with the first part. Those outcomes of those other things being there take a different path to shut down the business, not for the business license. I've already shown that I'm a business license and provided that stuff. It wouldn't be something I would show back every single year. I've never shown them back any other years.
Okay. Well, we probably need to have some discussions later on about the process behind the application.
Okay.
Okay, so D is okay?
Yeah.
E? Okay,
Yeah, just right now.
103A? A1,
I think this is.
A2, A3, A4, A5. I'm gonna keep going speed up.
Wait, I got something.
All right, under B, I changed the word posting to notification. That was Peggy's suggestion because posting kind of has a negative connotation.
That's fine.
And I changed in line 4, treasurer recorder to recorder treasurer, because that's what Wes really is.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Okay.
And I didn't have anything else on that page. Oh, way down on the bottom. 4 should have been 4.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that page? All right, section 104. Again, we changed city clerk to recorder treasurer. We don't technically have a city clerk. And the next change I had was taking a B out, adding an S, and enforcement. That's kind of more just grammar. Businesses existing at the time of the passage of this ordinance that have been inspected by the fire department within the last 2 years. I added that last 2 years in there at somebody's suggestion.
Mine.
Okay. Will not require a new fire inspection.
Actually, I said, some time frame, you put the 2 on it.
Okay. Under penalties, anything?
I can't see it yet.
Mine different than what was 105? 1.05, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Nuisances?
I had a question about that. What is defining that? Is there a city code somewhere that defines that?
Yeah.
And I asked because let's take it from a place, having a band on a porch outside on a deck and playing music.
Yeah.
At what point does that become?
I asked our attorney what nuisance in fact means. And that is a legal term that means it doesn't have to be defined in an ordinance as to what constitutes a nuisance. So
it's a gray area.
if you're operating a business that's a constant pain in the ass, you can be declared a nuisance in fact.
It's taking away the pleasure or something like that, which is also subjective.
So it could be decided by the city council in essence, or they could protest it.
Right.
We don't have ambiguities. What would attorneys do?
Okay. Anything?
The penalties for not having a valid business.
Just suspension.
107.
You get shut down.
107.
It's just the cease and desist.
No, there's fines.
There's no fines.
Yeah, 107B. 107B, the top of page 8.
Oh, there is a fine. Never mind.
Okay.
$500 each day.
500 a day. Yeah, that's a lot of incentive to have that license get going.
And I had one in 106, but I think it'll be back to 105 or 106. They're not numbered paragraphs, so hold on. Second to last paragraph in there, it talks about I don't know, mine different than yours? Where is it at? Mine is different than yours. Only 3 paragraphs now.
106 is different.
I don't think I changed anything in the inspection section.
Let me get
there's
until revision.
it's in multiple pages of flat for happens. Or
because I've got the old version here and the new version here. They look the
so
same.
the second paragraph of 1.06.
Okay,
read it.
If the business establishment will be assessed by the public, and inspection by the Holiday Island Fire Department is required prior to the issuance of a business license.
There was a question there about requiring the business license, about the ADA part and everything else that was in there for that. I know there's differences.
Yeah, I took the statement about ADA out in this version. I still haven't heard back from the attorney, but I believe that in doing some Googling on the internet, I don't think ADA requirements extend to private residences. And short-term rentals are still considered a residence.
Residential activity.
So you can't expect them to have handicap ramps and 36-inch wide doors.
Well, what about the others that, I mean, in those same parts with the other places that are around Holiday Island, most of those weren't built with those types of codes either. In those, and so are they're just grandfathered in that part that they don't,
well,
because there's a limitation on how much they remodel at a point that they have to do that
Oh,
part, because they would be. They would be exempt in the current condition of their end, putting this in place, they wouldn't keep them from getting a business license.
right.
But if they did so much to remodel it, then that could come up at that point, I guess is the question.
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know what would trigger on an existing building. I don't know what would trigger being ADA compliant.
Yeah, you have to look at the ADA law. ADA law supersedes everything, because you can have a 1908 building. If it doesn't have ADA compliance, you can be punished for that.
Not in Eureka Springs. The whole city is not ADA compliant.
So the ADA law exempts them?
They get away with it.
I know, I've read some of.
Go to the courthouse. There's no elevator in the courthouse. There's not only.
Don't have to do jury duty because.
Not only is there no handicap parking, there's no parking.
There is for the judge.
Yeah, there you go.
That's yours to keep.
Oh, you're gonna get that.
Well, anyway, I took the question about it out, but I still, I asked Justin again today and I haven't heard back from him, so.
On the fire people,
I still need to get that. On the exhibit A and exhibit B, at least the copies I have, still has the old Woodsdale Drive address on the bottom, so I need to fix that.
It has what?
Oh, Woodsdale Drive address.
Update needed.
Yeah.
And I did send this, the certificate of occupancy, most of which the inspection is done by the fire department. So I did send the copy of this to the chief for his.
I had mentioned to Dan earlier when he gave me the first copy of this, that if we were checking state licenses for professional people or plumbers or whomever has state licenses, couldn't we ask for their license number or something on this?
Right here, Arkansas state license status.
Yeah.
Oh, a tax ID.
That's only
That's the same thing, right?
I'm talking about a professional one.
Oh.
Which we had as one of the requirements, I think, didn't we? Or that's how we determine if they have a business.
Yeah. I guess we could.
Some people.
We could add it on.
Tax IDs. Other than-
Yeah. That statement.
That way.
Oh, good.
That's when I got out.
Yeah,
It's brand new.
That's not a hit, not a real hit. I don't know what that.
You know, I think we do need to pass a little.
I don't know, again.
If anybody from a restaurant attends a meeting at night, they should bring a snack.
Business license.
Yeah.
May not need that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're done wrestling with that part of it yet, because there's. Everybody and their brother is gonna say, well, I'm just a home occupation.
Yeah, that's it.
Need a license.
Yeah. I wanted to say, the typing that I was doing, we had Airbnbs that were on Zoom that were asking me questions and I was answering them. That's what I was doing here. And I have a business registry of over 250 people that are serving our territory. A lot of them are business cards, you know, trucks, that kind of stuff. that I'm trying to communicate with them to join the chamber, but also to whatever you all decide. So that they know about it. Just sharing that that's how many business cards, and I know I haven't picked them all up. And these are the ones that actually still answer their phones.
Yeah.
Because there's some that don't, and I remind the people like the cows and the Coldwell Banthers, throw those cards away because they don't exist anymore. We don't want to misrepresent it to some of the people.
You have a good memory. Is Absolute Clean still in business?
Yes, until they get too old, their equipment dies.
I saw an old truck being some other purpose in my street today, and I've made a phone call and they haven't returned it. So.
Okay, well, the last time I talked to them was 2 months ago.
Okay.
So I need to call them again to find out. Right. But like, you know, Beaver, you know, she's retiring, but she's in the process of reselling. Is out of business because she's retired, but we're trying to keep track. I just want to let you know how many that we really have. And I don't have most of them yet.
Well, are we good?
I don't know, but I reached mine.
It's the first door on the right, the last door is.
No, I think
Oh, never mind, it's working.
And that's, here's one of the many
I'm
pages.
not a licensed plumber.
From
I wonder if we get it right and we have a flooded building tomorrow. Is there a portrait in there?
Expand or anything.
I think there
I'm
is.
still hoping my wife.
Well, so that graduation year in 3 years, that's not good.
He says he did, you know.
I was talking yesterday.
And in the truth, have some.
Real thing, like $50.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It depends on.
Right. Anything else?
Somebody that.
Motion to adjourn.
We're officially adjourned.
Whether I get a turkey in or not is going to depend on how much wine his wife puts down my wife. Whether she remembers to bring it.
I'll post your audio and the Zoom so they can have.
If it's any good.
Oh, God.